What's up, Druids? So I want you guys to pay attention to our ultimate. We just activated it, and watch how fast it will go back on cooldown. It's back up right again, and we can actually get value by casting it multiple times because of Nature's Fury. So this build, guys, is set up to be one of the best human Druid builds in the game, taking advantage of specifically the smooth mechanics that human Druid allows you to play. There's going to be no gimmicks, no problems with resources, as that was kind of the thing I've kind of noticed with some of like the more meta variants of Druid. Resources does become a problem, and then also you have to go Bear, then you got to go Wolf. There's a lot of like these gimmicks to kind of get your damage to be higher. My goal with this build was to make it as smooth as possible, hold down basically one button, and then activate a few buffs here and there if you want to. This build will give you infinite spear, or aka mana, and then on top of that, you're going to be able to, if you want to, have 100% unstoppable, which is a really good thing to have in the game because, well, things just kind of knock you around, and that actually kind of ties into your DPS because if you're getting pushed away, you're not dealing damage, right? So for starters, let's go ahead and go over the skills, and then we're going to go ahead and go to the boons, the aspects and gear, as well as the different build variations, as I will include two different variations if you want to be more tanky or if you want to go ahead and have more damage and min-max a little bit harder. So for starters, the main two skills that actually deal damage are going to be Landslide, as well as utilizing the unsung aesthetic reps. We're going to be actually doing damage with Lightning Storm. Both of those are actually do damage in this build. Because we don't do convert to Bear or Wolf, which has a little bit more damage in terms of multipliers, this build will be super smooth and you don't have to swap. Therefore, the clear speed can be a little bit faster with this. Depending on how high you min-max, this build is going to actually be faster. So for starters, let's go over the skills. So for our skills, we're going to be running Earthen Bulwark in slot number 1. This is really utilized just to add Unstoppable with Bending Stone. We're just going to be able to have this up the whole time, and that's going to make our build feel a lot better. Now, just as a heads up, how it can work is with Earthen Bulwark, if your barrier does drop, it will actually obviously remove Earthen Bulwark. So you may need to get more HP or run Doombringer if you want to go and do the tier 8 of the Infernal Hordes. You will need to invest a little bit more in the defenses to have that 100% uptime for the Unstoppable. And then on top of that, we also have Landslide. Landslide is obviously excellent because it's going to be our source of damage. And then on top of that, Poison Creeper is going to be used to poison. And this is our main source of damage here, by the way. We do not run the aspect where it can activate. That is more so with the Druid build that would do like Werewolf, Bear to get all the bonuses, and I want to make this as smooth as possible. You don't have to push this button, you don't have to push Cyclone Armor as well, it's just a free extra like defensive thing just by having it equipped. And then we also have Wolves. So Wolves actually can distract the enemies, plus it actually gives you a lot more survivability. It is a open skill, so I decided to throw it in because it can distract enemies super far away. And what it does also do, since the wolves kind of move around, it can attract some of the other elites. I've noticed what I like to do with this build is kind of hold perfectly still, but the wolves, since they kind of move around, it does start to aggro some of the stuff, so it actually can make the build a little bit better because what happens is the enemies will start to attack it, and then they'll kind of like essentially bring them in, and that actually kind of helps out with clear speed because with this build you can basically just hold perfectly still, which is awesome. And then we have Cataclysm. This will be up 100% of the time. We're gonna have 100% uptime on our mana, so you don't have to roll like lucky hit, and it never feels gimmicky. I've seen a couple other variants of like the Landslide, Stormslide Druid variants where like you have to use like all these other little gimmicks to proc these other bonuses, and with this all you need to do is Cataclysm. It's the only other button that you're gonna have an animation for. The other skill, Earthen Bulwark, has no animation, so it's just like the Sorc. You can just cast it in the middle of casting something else and it won't interrupt your flow, which is why I like this build. It's actually my favorite Druid build currently right now in the game, simply due to how smooth it plays versus the other options right now, which again, they have to Werewolf, Bear. There's like just so many more gimmicks in the builds. So for starters, in the Spirit Boom category, we're going to be running Deer, and then we're going to be running extra crit with Scythe Talons, because it is tied to getting something to activate 2 times, which is with the unsung aesthetic reps. And then I like swooping attacks just for more attack speed. If you do reach the cap, you can actually get Avian Wrath as well. And then we are running Wolf to extend the duration of our ultimate, and then we're also running Calm Before the Storm, so we get to actually reset our ultimate again and again. This build actually has really fast clear time. If you are interested in doing the Tormented bosses, they're not really hard anymore. I usually was opening up with gameplay of that, but that kind of stuff is like relatively irrelevant right now in Diablo. Those bosses are so easy anyways. But watch the clear speed on the boss over here. It's actually very impressive. And then for our gear and aspects, we're going to be running Harlequin, We're going to be running Tyraels, and then Unsung Aesthetics Rep. One thing that I've noticed with Druid and a lot of like the Bear variants is like you do sacrifice so much survivability, even though you can get Vasili's Prayer and you can get like the Greater Affix and if you Masterwork 3 times. Realistically, most people aren't getting Greater Affix triple Masterworking on a lot of pieces of gear, so this build is going to be much more beginner friendly, but if you get cooldown reduction on this, it's okay. I mean, we way overcap on cooldown with this build, and it's not even that you need to get cooldown on the build. You're just going to see like our skill, look, we still have several seconds and we can activate it again, which is excellent, but getting cooldown here or there in maybe your amulet, that's not that big of a deal. Like you can get it if you need it, but it's not like you need to get Greater Affix or triple Masterworking on this Uber over here. And then yeah, like I said, Tyraels Might just so excellent versus running again the Vasili's Prayer and then running something else. You just get way more tankiness with this, and I do like that. And then Unsung Aesthetics Rep, because this build is not just Landslide and it's not just the Lightning Storm, because there's lots of different ways to play the Druid. Either way, Druid, whether you want to play the Bear variant or this, currently Landslide is kind of the top tier build for Druid, but you don't even have to run pure Landslide. We use this to activate more damage because the Earthbreaker right now is bugged, and it's just activating like more times than it really should because it's activating off of an activation with one of the things which we'll explain later. And then Mending Stone is here. If you want to get 100% unstoppable, this is your key right here. If you don't want to run it, that's up to you. You can run any sort of thing that gives you damage reduction. Up to you on how you want to run the pants category. You can even throw into bolts if you want to. You will be squishier, but it is another option. And then Concussive Strikes, I just like it because it does build up the stagger bar on the bosses a little bit faster, plus you get to do some more damage. There is one where it does pull in enemies, and you can run that as well. This totally optional. If you want to run, heck, you can run the Pensient Greaves for more damage as well, and it gives you crit. And then for the weapon over here, we do want to run a Dagger. The Dagger can give you damage to close enemies, so it reaches like another breakpoint on the Paragon board. But Aspect of the Aftershock is what we're running here. It's going to do some more damage. And the thing that you definitely want to go ahead and masterwork is specifically getting that transfer Landslide projectiles to cast twice. I don't happen to have good rolls at all in my build over here. This is like the earlier iterations, and then like while I was streaming and showing off the build, people were like, dude, drop the build guide. And I could definitely min-max this much harder. I've already cleared the Infernal Hordes 8, even without getting the correct masterworking and without getting a bunch of stuff Greater Affix, because Greater Affixes will matter specifically in the Earthbreaker ring. It's actually pretty big if you can get those. Mine actually has the worst roll, sadly, but it doesn't matter. The build is so incredibly good. Accelerating Aspect is great over here on the Amulet because attack speed is really key to make this build really feel good. And then on top of that, we are also running the Earthbreaker. Another thing is you want to get damage to crowd controlled. If you happen to like get the masterworking hit on it, it's actually not bad because the other slot can get crit damage because there's more multipliers on that. But accelerating is great over here in the Amulet because again, you're going to be attacking faster. And if you can get like Envenom, Natural Disaster, any of the offensive one, that's great. But I just went for like a simple one: attack speed and crit strike chance, relatively easier to hit. Getting the triple things of like Envenom, Natural Disaster, and any of the offensive passives, those cost in like the billions, and it's unrealistic to get those. So in my gameplay, I just happen to have one offensive one over here. And then Earthbreaker. This is the thing that if you get like multiple Greater Affixes, it's super godly. Mine actually has the lowest roll on the cast of Landslide. Leave those to 10x spikes. I have the worst roll one, and this is the gameplay with the worst roll one. If you happen to get a good one, yeah, this thing can go crazy. Ideally, Greater Affix Landslide projectiles to cast twice. If you get that Greater Affix and some masterworking, you don't need triple, you just need double on it. You can then go ahead and actually throw in Doombringer, and you don't have to run the thing for extra Landslide projectiles, which is fantastic. But that's the thing that you really want. If you hit that, you earn the money. You can go ahead and throw Willpower instead of like the rubies, which will give you way more damage, which is fantastic. And then to get the infinite resources and infinite ultimate, this is a frequently asked question while I was playing, this is the ring. It's pretty much on every single Druid build that I've been dropping. This thing is so busted. So what it does is it gives you, while Cataclysm is active, and you guys saw the cooldown, we have it up 100% of the time, it's 100x damage. 100x damage, I mean, that on average is like 20 to 30% on like aspects. That's like 4 aspects right there in that one ring. It is crazy how good this is. Plus, on top of that, you also get critical strike chance and willpower, which are 2 decent stats. I wish I had attack speed. It does also give you movement speed, which is something you don't normally get on a ring, so it's kind of nice specifically for that as well. But if you can get greater affix, crit strike chance, or willpower, it's okay. But don't worry about getting any greater affixes or good rolls here. The most important is that Cataclysm rolls to get 100% or like 90%. You can farm this super easy off of Greyguard, the Galvanic Sync, so that's the one where you get the Helltide stuff. Super easy to get. Just keep on playing, you'll get this. You also get Earthbreaker as a drop over there as well, which is great. And then we have Retaliation, which gives us more damage on Fortification, and as you guys are seeing in the gameplay, our build can just go right back up to Fortification like instantly, and that's because we're hitting so many dang times, it just goes crazy. So that's it for the gear and aspects, and then what we're looking at as far as the skill tree goes, the first 2 points do not matter. We're maxing out Lightning Storm. We're also maxing out Landslide over here. And I do like to get this Raging Lightning Storm. It's kind of nice. If you want to, you don't have to get these, but I like getting this because when we build up crowd control, we can either run this or this. I have to kind of swap it around. This one gets an additional strike, but run whatever you want in this category. In fact, you can save 2 points if you want to get more damage, but this does also apply if you want to. You can get the Immobilize, which again will then activate some other bonuses, and it can actually give you more damage as well. And then we run Wild Impulses, so again we're running Landslide. We're getting the Primal one over here, which gives us a little like bonus, so it'll do more damage. We do not run actual like shape-shifting, and that's one thing I like with this build. I just wanted to make the smoothest human druid build, and yeah, so I just dropped all of the shape-shifting, so it's not clunky. I felt like the build was very clunky when you ran out of resources, and this really helps out. Oh, let me make this bigger for you guys. Over here. So one thing that we are also getting is down here that you can also put in Nature's Reach. It's not bad at all. Oh, well, you know what? We're actually at the boss. I want to show you guys how crazy this is for the bosses. I mean, this is incredible. This is, again, not fully min-maxed out. This is on the Infernal Hordes. This is a 7. 7 is pretty much the optimal area that I want to say that most people will actually enjoy farming. You could go up, like I said, I've already done a tier 8. It just becomes a little bit squishier until you get Doombringer, and I need to get those greater affixes on the item, specifically on the Earthbreaker ring, and you're seeing just like it just dominates super fast with this area over here. That's why I really like this build. Plus, again, you literally hold still in most of the stuff. Like in the gameplay of this part, it's literally we can hold still. In fact, I actually was doing so much damage that I felt like you could actually kind of hold still in one area, let 2 of the other like mechanics just sit there, and then just kill the things on like 2 of the areas. Hopefully that kind of makes some sense. But basically, we're just completing 2 of the objectives versus doing 4 because we can kill stuff and it auto targets so fast. With season 5, the ultimate actually got a pretty big buff. But anyways, going back over here into the skill tree. So we are going to be running Earth and Bulwark. I like this one over here just to get Unstoppable. It makes the build feel so much better, and that's how we get Infinite Unstoppable. It's just that we get this and Mending on one of the aspects, but you could drop it if you want to. I just really like Earth and Bulwark specifically for this. It's not really for survivability. Survivability, yeah, it helps out, but it's specifically because it has no cast animation plus Unstoppable. And then over here, moving into the other area, since our skills will count as Earth and Lightning skills, we can just get like all the stuff over here. I only need 1 point into Safeguard because we attack so fast. Yeah, you only need 1 point to that, and then Stone Guard some more damage, and then 1 point into Bad Omen and Electric Shock. This will apply a Immobilize, which again, crowd controlling, building up that stagger bar a little faster can help out, but you don't really need this one. This one will activate something on our Paragon board. I'm not actually sure if Cataclysm's Lightning Bolts count, so I just put 1 point in here so it can make sure it actually procs correctly. Then every Druid build has to play in Venom. Then over here, we're running all of the bonuses. And then over here, we're also getting defensive posture, so we get to increase our fortification and get some more damage reduction while fortified. And then Cataclysm, we're maxing that out. And then the final thing is, of course, Nature's Fury, which allows the skills to kind of activate twice. For the Paragon board, it's actually very tiny because there's not very many things that really work with the build because we do not have to shapeshift, which is actually kind of a nicer thing because, again, I like the smoothness of this build. So for starters, we're playing Spirit in board number 1. Move over to board number 2, we get Earth and Devastation. This is why you need the damage or crowd controlled on the Tempering to get this bonus up. And remember, your Earth skills and your Lightning skills will count as Earth skills with the Nature's Fury thing, so it'll count as both anyways. And then over here, we move on to the second area. This is a second glyph, technically it's a third board, but Constricting Tendrils, Earth and Sky. We're getting this just to apply the poison. And then we go into Thunderstruck with Human. And then we're getting this bonus, and we're getting this one over here, and we're going to reach this real easy. The gloves will let you reach it super easy with the damage to like close and distance. And then also Territorial will also work with that, and you also gain some damage reduction to some enemies. And then we're going to be getting, of course, Heightened Ballast like every single Druid build. So really good stuff. We're actually getting a lot more of the yellow nodes because, again, most of the stuff in Druid, it's like Werewolf, Werebear, but we don't have to get any of those, which is really nice. And again, you don't have to like push other buttons. You can basically hold down and activate Cataclysm for our resource. If you want to drop Earth and Bulwark and then get something else for defenses, that's totally fine. Then run a different aspect, and you can make the build even easier in terms of its playstyle. But remember, it has no animation, so you can literally hold down the button, which is going to be Landslide, and then just tap when the other one is up, but it does not have an animation, which is awesome. It's just like the Sorceress. But that's going to go and wrap up the build that you guys wanted, and I think it's really fun. Now, if you're wondering, because I had a couple people ask, is the bear version better or is this version better? I think this one is objectively smoother for its gameplay. The other one will output more damage, but what happens is in between you got to do this, like you have other steps. So when you add extra steps, just like any like combo points rogue, if you played that before, the numbers will look higher, but for that brief second, you're not doing the damage. So on the lower end and on tier 7, you're going to be faster with this build, but if you really want to push to T8, you're probably going to be wanting to run the other pair of boots, like the Wildheart Hunger, which will give you a bunch more attack speed and damage, which does require you to shapeshift. So there is kind of a give and take with this, but most people will probably say that tier 7, even if your build is godly good, it's much better to do this because it's way easier, and because you can kill stuff faster, you're actually getting more of the currency, the Aether, at the very end, so you can open up the chest more times. So even though I can complete tier 8s, if you guys are wondering why a lot of people still do T7s versus T8s, even if they can complete it, you just simply get more. What it is it's the Hellborn one is so valuable, and because you can kill stuff way faster, where certain builds, it's just kind of better for some people. But by all means, you can complete it. I've already done it multiple times doing tier 8s. It's not like it's impossible, but if you want to do the tier 8s, I'm going to recommend you guys to run Doombringer. I didn't even run Doombringer when I was completing it, but I promise you it'll be way smoother with Doombringer. And then you can throw in Sapphires in your armor, and you're going to be even stronger and way more tankier. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. The build link will be also in the pin. I'm going to include both variants in case you guys want to min-max a little harder. And another thing I want to note, if you get a bunch of like greater affixes on attack speed, you can actually remove swooping attacks and get Avian Wrath. It's going to increase your damage quite a bit, but that requires a lot more min-maxing. And Druid definitely feels way better once you get those greater affixes compared to like the other classes in terms of like the builds like we've previously uploaded. But that's going to wrap it up. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it if you're new here and want to see an update to this build. And if there's any suggestions for some changes to make it even smoother and faster, let me know in the comment section below. We'll maybe make an updated guide. And I also want to make an Andariel Druid build, so stay tuned for that if you're new here. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Peace out.